Well, hello there. I want to welcome you to this new edition of News and Views broadcast by Access LaPorte County on Public Access TV Channel 99. My name is Dave Vila. We welcome you to this new edition. Opinions and views and responsibilities, though making the comments, do not necessarily represent the views of this program or its tri-co-producers. We will adhere to broadcast rules, but no one's, absolutely no one's, no one's First Amendment rights of freedom of speech or freedom of the press will be either muzzled nor denied. Any unauthorized use of the accounts, descriptions, and events of this program without the express written consent of us three is strictly prohibited. We hope you enjoy the program, the discussion, and the participants. Ladies and gentlemen, I got a news flash. Ready for this one? A news flash about the fastest growing area in LaPorte County. Okay? Where do you think it is? Where do you think it is?
Probably a ditch where they're raising
Kingsford
cannabis.
Heights.
No. It's the area around Bass Lake.
That's Stark County.
Yeah.
Well, okay, then Stark County.
Bass Lake is Stark County, yeah.
Well, then, because the dollar influence from Chicago is not relocating here in Michigan City to these proposed projects that have gotten off the ground but have no occupancy.
They are relocating here.
The people, no, really. Homes go on the market in the morning in Bass Lake and are sold in the afternoon.
Condos go on the market in the morning and are already sold by the afternoon.
I'm just saying, I said
So
homes.
where did you get that from?
Well, I'll tell you after the show is over.
Okay, so
Trust me, because the influx of dollars, individuals coming into Michigan City wanting to buy property here, people want too damn much for their property. But the property value in Bass Lake is susceptible to bargaining. And really, land is being scarfed up hand over fist. And I again, from very reliable sources have told me this information, and they wouldn't deceive me.
well, I know Bass Lake. So Bass Lake is a lake that was created by damming up a ditch, a river, a stream, and it makes it's not very deep. And it's a really nice lake, and yes, they are taking homes in Bass Lake, which were old fishing cottages and shacks, and they're putting $1 million homes. They have one thing to their advantage, they put a sewer line around Bass Lake. Knox did, extends over to Knox. The Bass Lake is southeast of Knox, not too far. Real beautiful place. The other problem is, it was an old fishing cottage thing, just like Hudson Lake, Saugony Lake, Fish Lake in LaPorte County, and invariably those were set up, and they want to call them tourist traps because they sold these little lots to people.
20-foot lots.
Tiny little lots, as you know, these in Hudson and Saugony Lake. And they bought a whole bunch of these put together. Now Bass Lake, the commissioners, and since I've known, since previous surveyors have known, they have a problem in Bass Lake as far as property is concerned. They have a minimum of a 5-foot shift in the lots. And the Illinois people are buying these and putting $1 million homes, and they've got this shift and overlap, and they don't know where, and it's creating a lot of legal troubles in Bass Lake. But Bass Lake, drive down there, growing like leaps and bounds, $1 million. These homes are like you see on Lakeshore Drive. These are $1 million homes. These Illinois people love it down there. It's beautiful. They got a couple of places to eat. It's really nice.
My sources told me it wasn't $1 million homes that have been acquired. It's the older homes that have been rehabilitated.
Yeah, they're tearing them down. They're building McMansions. They are monsters.
Right. And those individuals just sort of, if you don't happen to like us, pass me by. Well, those individuals from Illinois are following that mental aspect. And I believe they are passing LaPorte County by, because that's what I heard. I heard it just this morning.
And if you go down to Knox, you got out of Bass Lake, you drive through Knox, there's a bakery, Finger Hut Bakery, good old family bakery, pretty awesome.
Well, first of all, from what I see, and I live on Lakeshore Drive, or close to it, and as a matter of fact, what's happening there is basically the same thing. Except they bought up most of the old cottages already.
Well, they're doing the next level, right? They're going $1 million to $3 million.
Yes, they are. And they're tearing down $300,000 and $400,000 houses to build $3 million and $4 million houses. So as a result of that, we have added a lot of valuation to LaPorte County for what we've been able to do along Lakeshore Drive, both in Sheridan Beach, which is Michigan City, and then Long Beach and Duneland Beach, which is in our school system and in Michigan Township, but not in the city itself. But we have added tremendous dollars to LaPorte County. Now, where they run into problems from time to time, and there's one close to Beach Walk where they can't get a hold of all of the heirs from 2 and 3 generations down to be able to sell the property. But I guess most of them aren't really concerned because the property keeps going up in value, so they keep paying the property taxes. And as a result of that, some way, maybe the 5th or the 6th generation down will be able to settle all this in terms of the title.
Well, I'm just saying you live in the upper high rent.
No, I live in the lower part.
No. The Chicago dollars, the dollars of frugal individuals are not looking at the $1 million houses that we can generate
You're
here.
finding more value.
That
at
is
Bass
correct.
Lake.
They are.
So I wanted to bring up the sewer line in Bass Lake because Lakeshore Drive, they're tearing down 3, 4, sometimes almost $1 million home to build a $2 million home. If they had a sewer line down Lakeshore Drive, and I don't need Michigan City proper because they have a sewer line, if they would have extended that down Lakeshore Drive, you would be talking about $5, $7, $9 million homes.
Yes.
And blows me away. I wasn't in support of a gravity sewer line, but some sort of low pressure sewer line would be very wise down Lakeshore Drive because that's what happened in Bass Lake.
But we addressed that sewer line
We've addressed it a couple of times.
numerous times in the past,
Yeah,
and nothing's materialized.
Well, you're going to have to figure out what the Long Beach Town Council is going to do, because sooner or later they're going to have to do this. They keep putting it off, and the price keeps going up. In fact, what they owe Michigan City keeps going up.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen.
It started at 400,000. Now they're over 500,000 because of the delays, and I don't know how far they're going to go.
We're going to get to an inch of some judge ruling that Michigan City's got to pay the $500,000 and all the court costs, and Michigan City's going to capitulate, and they're going to get a sewer line. That's my prediction. Before they know, the attorneys in Michigan City will get a good read on the judge and the court, and they'll be like, "We're screwed. We're going to let you build a sewer line. Don't make us pay the $500,000 as the attorney fees, because that's probably pushing $1 million total."
Well, yeah, but
They're gonna
what's
read
that
that.
sewer going to be worth?
Oh, the sewer. What was it? 18 million.
Something like
So
that.
now it's probably 25 million.
Maybe it's the accountant in me, but I'll trade 500,000 for 25 million.
Well, if Michigan City gets to the end or close to the end of the case where they think the judge is going to rule against them for the $500,000 and the court costs, it's no skin off their back to just approve it and let them pay whatever 18 or 25 million. Now, I don't know if I was Long Beach and good business person, that you're a good attorney, they'd say, all right, you're going to let us build it, and the city council's going to approve it and approve the rates. But you know what? In the time you held us back, it cost us $7 million. Now we're countersuing you for $7 million. I don't know what the courts will do, but it's not a good thing for the city.
Well, if the expenditure of this district in this new sewer district in Long Beach should not fall on the backs of the Michigan City
It won't.
ratepayers.
It won't.
No,
They have the right, the Michigan City ratepayers win because by state law, they have the right to charge 150% of the rates they charge Michigan City people. So it was no skin off our back anyways, because they're paying for the sewer, they paid for the design, we get to charge 150% of the rates, and we don't provide them police, fire, school. We don't provide them that.
no, we provide them schools. They're in the school.
Oh, they're in school. So we don't provide police, fire, EMS. That's still on their back. We provide them water, and they pay us an extra fee for water.
Yes, but when you say fire, we have these mitigating contracts wherein.
Yeah, you have a partnership.
Yeah, so basically.
But they have their own fire department. They just
Right.
built a new fire station, so they're doing good there.
Yeah, except all that happens is if you get into a difficult fire, they just say, call Michigan City, and we go.
And maybe that's our homework. We need to find out what these cooperative agreements, I'm sure there's probably some fees in there that if we're running over there helping them with our big high tower truck, maybe somebody got to be paying us. Shouldn't fall on the back of Michigan City.
No, it shouldn't.
I don't think it does.
Gentlemen, I didn't mean to throw a wrench into your basic knowledge. Geographically, I made a mistake. I admit it. I didn't. I knew it was Stark County because I was told it was Stark County, but it didn't register in my mind when I put my mouth in motion before I put my mind in gear. And so I apologize for that. But there is a influx. Certain individuals use a certain terminology.
Wait a minute. I have a suggestion for your wife. Put him in a car and drive him down to Stark County so he can go past Bass Lake, and then tell him, you see that house over there? I want that one.
And it'd be a nice place to live.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Certain individuals, again, reliable people in the trades have told me of this acquisition going on, and
yeah.
it really surprised me.
It's huge.
Because
Yeah, we've got all sorts of things going on in Northwest Indiana. If you take a look at it, if you go down to Wanata, the place is blooming. That's where the Republicans are winning a lot of the elections at south of 6, because that territory down there south of 6, they've moved in from Illinois and from other places, and they're basically Republicans. They don't want a government like they've got in Illinois.
now this dual track system that was going to be a miraculous godsend to Michigan City and LaPorte and so on. The people eligible to use this dual track system to go to and fro from work will, I guess, have to get on their boat and row from Bass Lake up on what?
I don't think you.
We got to give Bob a bone here, because what was the big announcement last week? 2 weeks ago, the big announcement was they're making this low-cost electric pickup truck. Real simple truck. Amazon was involved. Real simple, bare-bones pickup truck. Smaller than what you see the Ford Maverick these days. Goes 150 miles on a charge. It's real basic. It's less than $25,000. And the CEO announced at that time that they were looking for a place to build those. And I thought, well, we ought to jump on that. Sorry, too late. They picked Warsaw, Indiana.
I believe it.
They picked Warsaw, Indiana to build this pickup truck, which I think is going to be a blowout success. Because they had it, and they picked an old factory. They didn't even pick a new one. They picked an old empty printing press factory. Look it up on the news. And they're going to build these pickup trucks, which I think will just sell like popcorn. And we'll see, because never underestimate Jeff Bezos and Amazon. He's, whether you like him or not, he's a smart, shrewd businessman. Before, I don't know, we had it on the show. Before the interest rates went up and the economy started, getting slow, not really slow. The interest rates went up to 7% because the last administration raised them up. They were at 2%. Well, I thought it was very interesting. I don't remember the number, that Jeff Bezos from Amazon borrowed, I think, $3 billion at 2%. And everyone thought, what are you doing this for? This doesn't make sense. Why would Amazon borrow billions of dollars at 2%? You're going to have to pay the 2%. Well, somehow he was a shrewd enough businessman to know that within 6 to 9 months they raised the interest rates to 7%. All he did was buy investments at 7%, paid the 2%, and he made hundreds of millions of dollars just off one transaction. The guy, whether you like him or not, runs Amazon amazingly.
There is a term, if you watch your financial programs, it's called arbitrage.
Yep.
Basically, that's what happens. But I want to talk a little bit about the announcement that was made by Clarence Hulse, who is our Director of Economic Development, to the City Council. I believe that was on April 30th, if I have my dates correct, Tuesday, April the 30th, where he talked about how we had $100 million of investment come into Michigan City this year, and he also said we've had that for the last 3 years. Well, my question is, first of all, why doesn't he have a requirement, a goal that he has to meet in terms of investments in Michigan City? Anytime you work for a private organization in a situation like that, they're going to give you a goal. You have to meet this standard. If you don't meet it, they're looking for somebody else. Now, I put together a few numbers just so everybody could think about it. But basically, that $100 million that he's talking about came out of the real estate area. Certainly, the South Shore would be one of those that he would have included in that. Also, some developments out on Paz Road and a number of other places. We're going to get that anyway. Those kinds of things are going to happen, just like Cane's and Chick-fil-A came here because they could meet our requirements in terms of our ordinances and in terms of our regulations, and they wanted locations off of I-94, off the toll road, and off of US 20, because they think they can attract a large number of people. The Chick-fil-A investment was $7 million. The Canes investment was $6 million. But Councilman Dabney got up and actually said this didn't have anything to do with Michigan City. We were not involved in this. But he's claiming it as part of our investment that occurred in Michigan City. We need to find out exactly what all he's talking about. But I did go back and check some records. And I went back to 2014 through 2022, a large part of which Clarence Hulse was our Director of Economic Development. And then I compared what happened with us with Porter County, Lake County, and St. Joe County. And let me give you the numbers. Tony can write them down, Dave can write them down, and then harass me.
I'm ready.
Okay, here we go. But starting with LaPorte County, of which Michigan City is a significant part, from 2014 through 2022, the average per capita personal income rose by $12,919. Now remember, that is a heavy inflationary period, or 34.8%. If you went back and tracked the inflation rate for each and every one of those years, I think you're going to find that the inflation rate was higher than the 34.8%.
I would say so too.
Now,
We lost
now,
ground.
starting with Lake County. In Lake County, they
During that
rose-
same time period?
What?
During that same time period, okay.
They rose by $14,427, or 37.2%. So they beat us by, close to about $1,400 and 3 percentage points. Porter County rose by $17,565, or 38.2%. Now I do have Cook County, but that's not comparable because of the differences. St. Joe County, they rose by $15,310, or 37%. Every one of those counties that surrounds us had a higher rate percentage-wise and had a higher rate dollar-wise. We are not keeping up with the surrounding counties. And the Economic Development Commission is going to have to start to get goals in order to do that. Now, I'm going to, probably if I get a chance, talk about it later on. But the only way you're going to do this in keeping up with those counties is through manufacturing, because those counties are acquiring manufacturing situations. And as a result of that, their per capita income is going up because of the high levels they pay in the manufacturing area. We have got to start to do that. Now, the other way we could have done this, if we had the numbers, is the average straight-time hourly rate. Per capita income includes management, and it includes hourly. Average straight-time hourly wage only includes hourly, but I've got a feeling you're going to find that they fell even farther behind, because a lot of that per capita income came from people commuting outside and bringing it back to Michigan City.
Who are your figures, the figures that you just talked about? What are they based on? Who is the source
Bureau of Economic Analysis and the Bureau of Labor Statistics.
at the federal level? Or federal level?
Yeah, BLS.
Yeah.
It's very interesting, because I think if your numbers aren't proportionally over 30%, you've lost ground.
Yeah.
Inflation has eaten up every dollar and then some. And I want to go back, because you're very right that if Michigan City, because we've talked about this before, Michigan City has seemed to look to the low-hanging fruit, and we keep looking for residences and some lower level
Tony, don't
commercial.
let me interrupt you, but that's going to happen unless you set a goal. You have to meet this goal.
We ought to look for the low-hanging fruit that we have right now. And I brought it up just minutes ago, and we've talked about the show many times. You look at any newscast, whatever newscast you watch. Companies are looking in droves to come back to America, because these tariffs and other things are forcing them to stop buying things off our continent, which are getting paid for and built by labor that is demonstrably cheaper, and I don't want to use derogatory terms, but what they're paying people is abysmal. And we're going to put this back in America to manufacture, which we have to do. And these companies are breaking down doors to move here to the United States. Our development needs to be on them 1,000%, touting Michigan City, LaPorte County area, and everything we have. Transportation, rail, water, sewer. We have electric. We have all these things. And I just told you, Warsaw took a huge manufacturing opportunity. And we're not talking about new things, because new is cheaper than revitalizing.
Well, it's more up to date from that.
But look at Chick-fil-A and look at Cane's. They tore down buildings and started brand new. And we can do that. We don't want to do that, but...
And plus, they're going to meet EPA requirements.
And they're going to meet all the EPA and new buildings. We're going to have to tear down some buildings to revitalize new ones. And if I remember correctly, 8, 10, 12 years ago, we were told by the economic development, and they made a big point about it, that we had to have these new buildings with high ceilings because no one would come. Well, go ahead and look at that building down there in Cleveland, south of 20. I don't think it's full yet. And that was, we had to build that and pay all this money. And the last thing I want to say is that I don't think Chick-fil-A and Cane's asked the city for anything. Tax abatements, some incentives, some money. No, they did their math. It worked. They can make a profit. They came to Michigan City.
Yeah, but let me go from the macro to the micro. Because if you get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and you can see these things. Well, last Wednesday, I got to see the CEO of Eli Lilly, and right after that, the CEO of General Motors. And they were talking about the tax effects of the bill that President Trump is proposing. He likes to call it his big, beautiful bill. But it has an effect on corporate taxes. They were also talking about the effects of the tariffs. Eli Lilly, their stock has gone up 456% over the last 5 years. And in addition to that, you don't really want to look at the stock price if you're in the economic development. What you want to look at is revenues and profits. Revenues and profits from Eli Lilly have gone up right along with the stock price. So when the CEO of Eli Lilly, a big pharmaceutical company headquartered in Indianapolis, came on, what he said was, Eli Lilly does not have the space that they need to expand.
Nope.
So as a result of that, they are looking for situations, and Michigan City ought to be on that Economic Development Commission in Indianapolis and in the state of Indiana. They are looking to bring back, both from Europe and from Asia, pharmaceuticals that they sell. Now, I thought they'd talk about the tariff situation. He didn't even talk about that. He said what he was looking at was the tax bill that would take the corporate tax from 21% down to 15% on profits that they make from their facilities that actually build close to 90% in the USA. It could have 10% from foreign, but it's got to be at least 90% in the USA. He wants to bring this back, build the facilities to put it in, and then he thinks that he will, in Europe and Asia, be able to expand his pharmaceutical business in those countries. Counter to that, the CEO from General Motors got on and said, we have plenty of room. We are not building anything. We will use the facilities that we currently have available for additional business, with one exception. Would you like to know what that exception was?
Lordstown?
Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Oh.
Now, I don't know what they do in Fort Wayne, Indiana, but I'd certainly be going over there to find out.
I think they make the Silverado pickup.
Okay, now, what's the possibility of looking for their suppliers and finding a supplier that supplies that Fort Wayne business? These are the things you've got to be doing. This is what you've got to be doing instead of picking up numbers that are real estate and really don't do anything in terms of the salaries that people in Michigan City are receiving. But you've got to do a lot of that. And you can start by getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning and listening to CNBC, Bloomberg, and Fox, they all have business channels, and you're going to find these people on there telling you all about it and what they're doing. And by that time, they would have known about that facility in Warsaw someplace, but they're not doing it. In addition to that, if you don't want to do that, you can get their financial statements. And their financial statements, well, some of these are 500 pages. They will give you, once you learn how to read them, what's going on and what their particular company is doing. Now, I would start with, and I'd go to the brokers to get basic financial statements from them. We've got them in Michigan City, several of them. Just because you're with the city, you can go in and ask to get the financial statements. They can probably get them for you. I'd look at about somewhere around 75 to 100 starting out. Call that down to 50 or 60 that would be potentially interested in Michigan City. Some of them are going to say, all of our facilities are on the West Coast, and you know they're probably not going to build one lone facility here. Or some of our facilities are all in the Southeast. They're probably not going to build a facility here. But you could certainly cut it down to 75 and go from there. But they're not willing to spend the time. Now, I'm going to start with a couple of phrases that I got as I was growing up, starting with, when you're on the hourly payroll, you get paid by the hour. If you work more than 40 hours in 1 week, you get time and a half. That's by law. If you're management, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get your butt out of bed and go to work. When I was in the Navy and I reported aboard ship, the first meeting I had with the commanding officer, his comment was, number one, among my rules, don't bother to call in if you're sick, because I'll call a hospital to find out how you're doing. And another one, now this, they didn't say this right out loud, but they certainly mumbled it at the water cooler. It went like this: if we'd have wanted you to have a family, we'd have issued you one with your seabed. If you're in management, you've got to start devoting your time to doing something positive for Michigan City. From our Economic Development Commission. Go ahead. I've had my say.
Your statistics pertaining to these percentages.
Yeah.
The year was 2014 to 2022.
Right.
A issue that I uncovered a long time ago was that the city of Michigan City, not in cooperation with Gateway, failed to comply with state regulations for, what years do you think they failed to comply with state
You're going to
regulations?
tell me 2014.
2014 through 2022. They have failed. I have proof that they have failed to cooperate with the state of Indiana pertaining to revenue derived from the TIF district. They didn't do it. They didn't do a darn thing. Okay, I got proof that backs it up. Now, if they didn't do their specific due diligence and report to the state of Indiana, they said, or they implied they wanted to do it by themselves. Well, they did it by themselves, and they showed one reason why we're lower than whale excrement in the ocean as far as economic development is concerned. They ain't doing a damn thing. That's all.
They're collecting a salary, and they are getting by using not what they're doing and the hard work they're doing, by using our location. The things that they are talking about, especially the Solar development, Dunescape, all those houses along Lakeshore Drive, including numbers of them in Michigan City, Sheridan Beach, Shoreland Hills, those are both in Michigan City. That's because of the lake. It's not because of the work that our Economic Development Commission is doing.
What they're not doing, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They're not doing it.
They're not.
We sat here a couple programs, many programs ago. Tony had his cell phone, and he specifically looked up the statement that I made, thinking that it was an erroneous statement, that I didn't know what the heck I was talking about. And what did you find,
You can
Tony?
look up on Gateway whether they provided reports or not.
They proved nothing. Nothing until I spoke up at a dual track meeting that I was accused of being I don't know what they accused me of, other than being a liar. If you don't have an organization, an entity within the state of Indiana cooperating with other entities within the state of Indiana for economic development, that implies to me you're doing it alone. And doing it alone during 2014 to 2022 didn't get you too far, did it?
Yeah, so you bring up some great points because kudos to Councilman Dabney. A good council, a good business person, and there's very good ones on the council. If the economic development, Clarence Halls came up to and he gave a presentation, and he gave this presentation, I would maybe a good comment from the council people would be, oh, I thought you were going to tell us about what you're bringing in, but you're just telling us what supposedly you've done. And if that's all you're here for, I would expect you to be out in your car driving over to their GM and find out who their suppliers are, or driving down to Eli Lilly, because if you don't know, if you don't have the qualifications and the skill set to put 2 and 2 together, which I'm not even on economic development, but I see a lot of things in the media and I put 2 and 2 together. You brought up Eli Lilly. Eli Lilly's looking for space. You know where they're looking? They're looking in Lebanon, Indiana. You know what Lebanon, Indiana does not have? Water. Lebanon, Indiana wants to, I almost said steal, take water from the Wabash, from Lafayette, from Tippecanoe, and truck it down to Lebanon because they've got no water. Indianapolis has got no water out the White Ditch, or White River. They don't have any water. And Eli Lilly is begging them, literally begging them to build a facility in Lebanon. The legislature, I believe, just passed a bill that says you're not going to take water from another community more than 10 miles away and pipe it down to you because the Indiana is going to pay somebody like Eli Lilly to come in and build a big new factory, which they need. And Michigan's sitting here. Where are we? Why are we down there knocking on the door, sitting in the waiting room in Eli Lilly? I don't care. Buying the CEO lunch, something. And say, we got all the water you need right here in Lake Michigan. Come on down.
Absolutely, that's what we're going to
Really?
have to do. And it's not just Eli Lilly. It's numbers of other.
That comes up.
It's numbers of other corporations out there that, based on this tariff situation, based on the tax code, if this tax goes through for corporations that make 90% plus of their products in the United States and get a break on their federal income tax as a result of it, this will be a huge positive. But you've got to sit here and do the analytical work, because there's going to be 5,000 towns, communities, counties out there trying to get these people, because they know that some of them are coming back. Now, Trump is already saying that he's got agreements from 1 trillion different entities to build facilities in the United States. Now, a big one that's already gone is $100 billion that's being put in by Taiwan Semiconductor in Phoenix, Arizona. So you're down to 900 billion that you're working with, 900 million that you're working with.
A billion, a million, whatever.
Are you?
A billion, actually.
Can we honestly say that Mr. Holtz is taking credit for something that he wasn't involved with?
Well, yeah, when he turns that stuff in.
When he didn't. Nobody turned it in. No, that's what I'm saying. Nobody turned the basic information in to Gateway to show the state of Indiana that we are involved with Gateway and we are involved in economic development. So basically, the state ignores us.
Yeah, I guess.
And based on the
But he
statistics,
took credit for Keynes.
he did. He did.
But before the city council, yeah.
Well, he's mandated to make an annual report, and his annual report says he's made in the past. I questioned the capability of his reports. They have a master plan going into 2040. If you read the master plan, 2040 is nothing more, and to read the language in it, it's nothing more than lip service. It's ideas from somebody, compelling ideas, putting it together, but not producing anything. He's not.
Well, let's think about giving him an assignment. We got to start doing some things that are.
Yeah, my assignment is you go down there to Eli Lilly and find out why they can't come up here because we
Okay.
got water.
Yeah, that's a micro assignment.
Knock on their door.
I'm thinking of a macro assignment also, because if we're going to be able to attract the kinds of industries that we need in order to support our people, you're going to have, I think, the west side of Michigan City cleared out in terms of water problems. And we've sat here and talked about that, cleaning up ditches and doing this and that.
We beat that to death.
Yeah, we did. I think we've got to go in there and do
Not yet, guys.
Wait a minute. I think we've got to go in there and do the same thing we did 60 years ago with the east side and built the Cheney Run storm sewer. We are going to have a storm sewer like that on the west side. let's see if Mr. Holtz will have the ability to go to the sanitation department and spell out why we need to do this. The next thing we're going to have to find out is, does the sanitary department have the capabilities of financing something like this?
Yes, and yes.
The other assignment that I think you should have is to go to the school board and tell them, look, these kids at the 12th grade level are coming out with a 38%, 37% ability in reading and math. You can't have that, but more importantly, we can't have that. Because when you think of industries, it's not the kind of industries that put me through college for 4 years, well, part of the way through college. Because back in that day and age, you had machinery that was very dangerous. In this day and age, it's a little bit dangerous, but it's a little bit dangerous for the mechanical arms that they use to go in and take care of things that are dangerous.
The robots.
Well, some people call them robots, some people call them mechanical arms. I guess you could call them either one.
The robots.
Robots. He likes robots. Okay, we'll call them robots. But guess what? Just like people got injured 70 and 80 years ago, mechanical arms get injured. Somebody's got to fix those arms. And that means that they have got to be able to do math, and they have got to be able to read. And we have got to go in and start saying to our school system, you have to figure out a way to get these people coming out of here 12th grade with a 12th grade ability in reading and math. Now, okay, they can bring up a fair situation. They went through COVID, and what happened was the private schools, the parochial schools, started up a lot quicker than the Michigan City school system did. So the kids in that school system got a lot farther behind than the kids in the parochial school and the private school systems. But they're going to have to make up for that because they should have started up at the same time. They didn't. But now they're going to have to try to make it up to these kids and how they can bring them up to grade level at 12th grade when they graduate. Social promotion is, because of the situation, you don't want an 11-year-old boy, especially, in a class with 9-year-old kids. So as a result of that, we have social promotion. They have got to get these kids up to speed, and the only way you're going to do it is through mandatory summer school if you are not at your grade level. Go ahead, I've had my say.
You have to set them up for success. And you hit the nail on the head. Success is far different in the next 5 or 10, 20 years than it is in the last 10 or 20 years. You have to set them up for the future success, not on your laurels on what the success was 20 years ago. That's setting up for failure. And yes, these kids have to come out 12th grade ready. And I don't know, it's not easy. It's going to take work. And we need to pay the teachers for the extra work and get the best teachers we can. Because if you don't pay a teacher a lot of money, you're going to get what you paid for. Not much.
Well, it operates, to me, just like you do in college. And in college, they have summer schools, but they pay the teachers who teach in summer school for the summer schools. It's a 9-month payroll, but if you teach summer school, you get paid for that. And this has to be the same way. But what we've got to do is get math teachers, reading teachers, English teachers, and maybe one other language, or 2 other languages. I would pick out German and Spanish, but those should be the classes that are available. And you will find that if we hit these kids hard, they will get up to grade level, for the most part.
So I want to go back to tariffs. Because tariffs, I think, and I'm not completely understanding, but I'm learning about how this all plays out. So China is getting hit with huge tariffs right now for America because we were being taken advantage. They were
146%.
146. They were taking advantage of us by our goods coming to them. They had huge tariffs against us, and our goods we got from them had smaller tariffs, and that wasn't fair. And it took a lot of guts because this was not going to pan out good in the short run, but pan out good in the long run. And it's already happening. So here's an article from Zero Hedge. I don't remember who does it. But the article says, China quietly walks back a quarter of U.S. import tariffs amid economic crunch. So they are feeling, and you go online, you can read articles about what's happening in China. It's not good. There's no boats coming over here with their stuff.
Well,
their factories are shutting down.
They're turning them around.
The people aren't, some of the people in China haven't got paid since January. They don't have any money. They're not buying our beef, our pork, our soy, they're in huge trouble. They got 1.5 billion Chinese people, and in a game of business, they are going to have to flinch first. They are, whether the media is reporting or not, they have started to roll back their tariffs and start to play fair. I mean, they haven't. So China imports from the U.S. They import from us about $150 billion. We import from China about $450 billion. So it's not fair that they are tariffing immensely our goods that come to them. They're not playing fair. And now they're feeling a lot of pressure. And they will, I would think, a prediction, they're going to come to the table here really shortly. If they aren't already back channeling, we got to feed our people. Our people got to have jobs.
When you see rows and rows and rows of shipping containers on the dock site that are just sitting there, and rows of cars that are parked in parking lots, foreign-made products that are just sitting there, there's an economic downturn on the horizon, and it's not us that's going to experience that economic downturn.
I agree. So
it's them.
The media is talking, and I believe
don't believe the media.
They're trying to sell you something and scare you that they're going to have a downturn. I don't think we're going to have near as downturn, and I think it's a game of chicken that China cannot afford to play. They have 1.4 billion Chinese people. They have a socialist leader, right, Xi Jinping, and
He's a communist leader.
He's going to waver. I guarantee it. And I think the U.S. government knows it, and Trump knows it, that he cannot keep his country running if they're not buying pork and soy from us, and they're not getting ethane they're not getting from us, and they're going to have to capitulate some of their tariffs and play fair, and that helps our manufacturing right here in Michigan City.
And one of the things that I do not see the media promoting is investments. Looking at my investment account, and my investment account, yes, had a downturn, but now it's above the 2002 level, economically speaking. I'm personally not being hurt. Yes, there was a paper downturn, but it doesn't exist anymore.
But the upside is far, far greater when we start manufacturing things, and I'm talking right here in Michigan City or LaPorte County. We can enjoy the upside here, and so can the rest of the world. Is going to have to get that. We want to be friends, but we want to play fair. We're not going to take the beating anymore and lose our manufacturing and our capability and our kids.
President Trump had a cabinet meeting, and I watched, it was an hour-and-a-half cabinet meeting, and I watched each department head talk about positive things. And yet, you go to the media, and you see very little media coverage of President Trump's cabinet meeting, of what those people said.
Yeah.
I didn't see any coverage of it.
You didn't?
No, on mainstream media, I didn't see a blip.
Well, yeah. Well, you're right. That's the point I want to make. Yeah, in a country that has censorship, a prime example of what's going on is what the media is doing now in regards to the progress President Trump has made. And they're not talking about it.
And today, we tape on Friday. Today, the labor report came out.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, if you've been watching it for your life, it's goofy, it's kind of fluffy numbers. We don't really know, they kind of estimate, but later they come out and they give you the real numbers. But the interesting about the labor report that came out, the chart here I have, again, from online, is that the native-born workers in America in the labor statistics are at an all-time high. Everything we saw in the last 4 or 5 years, the labor statistics we have, they were all new jobs, part-time jobs, to people who were not native-born. And we were suffering. Now we have a complete change that the labor and the native-born workers are all-time high, full-time workers, and the foreign-born workers have plummeted. I think the native workers went up 1.3 million. The foreign workers went down 400,000. Complete Complete difference. And the labor, you'll see on the news in the next few days on how the labor report was not so great and glorious as it was. But if you dig down into the report, which people do for you, I'm not that good. I'm not an economist, so I have people, and they produce a chart. It's really nice. They produce a chart that tells you exactly what the labor statistics say. Native-born workers are getting full-time jobs again. They're not doing 2 or 3 part-time jobs. Manufacturing is coming back to America. The government workers, the number of government workers is plummeting, just off the charts plummeting. So we have private industry, full-time Americans have jobs, benefits, retirement, healthcare. That there's nothing good that everything good is going to come out of this, because we might see a little low in our investments, but the curve in the next few years is probably going to be quite dynamic.
No, I see with my account, I see 3,000 points up prior to 2002 when the market went down. I see it 3,000 points above what it was in 2002. Who did that? Who's responsible for that market to go up? If not an influx of dollars into our economy. And you see Trump having news conferences about Johnson & Johnson and all these other
Pharmaceuticals are big under Trump.
yeah,
He's really trying to
and you
bring
see you see all of these people coming in and basically providing billions of dollars into our economic society, but the press doesn't talk about it.
And this week there was another article, which I brought up last week, that even Walmart is helping people come back to America to manufacture their goods here, because they see a tax advantage, corporate.
Right.
They see less government regulations on them, and they can produce a product that in America that we can buy. It will. I think it will ramp up quicker than we know, and we're going to see probably a wild time in the stock market. Again, we brought this up. You see those stock market going, don't fret, because the stock market people, there's the movie, I can't remember what it was, they just want to keep you on the Ferris wheel. But because they make money when you sell, they make money when you buy. So they like when you sell and you buy. They are transactional people. They make money in and out. They don't care whether you make money or not. They're making money on your buy, they're making money on your sell. So the more scared we get and sell and buy and sell and buy, the more money they're making.
And my approach is just hold. I've been holding for a long time, and I see an appreciable improvement.
Holding good companies.
Right, it is.
I was going to ask Tony, unfortunately, they haven't really analyzed this that thoroughly, but I was wondering if that 400,000 of foreign workers were people in the main that self-deported. Because if you recall, they've got ads out there now that if you self-deport, leave on your own, the ICE doesn't have to come and get you. You don't have a criminal record. You can get in line and get back in again, but you're going to have to go through the line legally.
I heard that the app, which is nice, they had an app for phones, which was amazing. Illegal immigrants had phones, but they had apps that they could sign up with the government to say, and when they were coming here, and then they would get their court date. Well, Trump shut that down, but I heard they just got reopened, and on the app, you can now log in as who you are, the immigrant, illegal, whatever you were, and say you self-deported. So now you get in line so you can come here legally.
Yeah.
That was a brilliant move, and I want to bring up that it doesn't matter what party you are, but you have a businessman in the presidency, you have a businessman in the governor's office right now. And they know how to make these things happen. And we go back to the economic development in Michigan City. We need a business person who knows how things are, who knows the names, who knows the phone numbers and email addresses of these people to get these things, because by the time we hear about them, by the time we heard about this Slate electric car, cheap car coming, and not the mainstream media, but the internet media talked about the CEO was a lady, she was an engineer, and she was looking for a factory to build this. That news was already too late. She has probably already talked to Warsaw, and they were already had a deal. So we were already a month behind, if not a quarter behind, on the deal. And that's the kind of economic development you need. You can't You can't, like I said earlier, you put 2 and 2 together and figure it out. You're already quarter
If
behind.
you get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and spend 2 hours like I do, I go back to bed now, but I spend 2 hours between CNBC, which is commercial NBC, between Fox Business, and between the Bloomberg financial station. You will know all of this. It comes out one way or another on one of those stations. And I just flip back and forth, and I flip, when one goes to commercial, I flip to the next one, and then they'll tell you who's coming up. And when I see they're coming up with a Chief Executive Officer, I know the time, and I'm on that station
I do
at
as well.
that time.
What's the publication that's even Barron's?
Yeah, Barron's. That's
So I think by the time you get to CNBC, Fox Business, or the other news, the main
Bloomberg.
the Bloomberg shows, you're already late there too. By the time you read the internet things, you're already late. I watch those shows once in a blue moon at 4 in the morning, and I'm thinking, yeah, that's news I read 3 days ago. You're just regurgitating something, and the CEO is up there he's just pushing his company, and he's telling something that the insiders in Barron's or whatever on the internet already know. Sometimes you can get a little ahead because if you go to these articles on these websites and you read these business news, go down in the comments and you'll pick out some things that aren't on that report, and you might be able to get 2 months ahead, but I think a quarter, decision's already made. These businesses have already calculated their revenue. They know where they're going. They already know what factories are available, what towns give them incentives. They already know this. They're way ahead of the game.
And times in the past, years in the past, I talked about Michigan City taking a new attitude and a new direction and a new approach. But that went on deaf ears. Okay? And
Well,
if you don't happen to like it, pass me by, and that's what's happening.
One thing that he did say, and it was in the paper, but it was buried down quite far, is that they are going to put sewers and water under Marquette Mall. Or new sewers and water under Marquette Mall. About time, right?
But the fact of the matter is, water table's too high to
Well, maybe
excavate.
they're planning on draining that. I don't
Marquette
know.
Mall's a strange animal because we have city sewer and water that pretty much surrounds the mall when they built it, and it's getting old, but it's in a quasi-private public easement. I did the survey for the thing, and it's weird. So at some point, and you are hamstrung by the sewer and water being around the outside, I'm talking like around the sidewalk, because now you can't build out, you can't build over the sewer, and we really don't know who is responsible. Is the city responsible? It's an easement dedicated to the city. It's really weird, and that's what they had to do in 1968
Yeah.
when they built it. But it's time to move that sewer and get it ready, and I want to go quickly. We don't have too many minutes left. Back to our favorite subject, the West Side. I did look at, and I asked, I can't remember, Oldcastle makes pipes and construction and concrete box culverts, and I asked them, it's free, I asked them, what would it cost for 6,000 feet of 3 foot by 5 foot concrete culvert? And we could put this along the ditch because a culvert has less slope than a ditch, and we could drain out more area to the Black Ditch and even north to around the prison area to our present storm sewer. And that's something anyone could do pretty quickly. I mean, I just did it out of fun. I had a couple minutes in my break, and I went online. I found who manufactures concrete box culverts. I know the slopes because that's what we do. I know about how far it is. It's 6,000 feet, a little over a mile. How much does it cost? And once you get that cost, you could double or triple the cost or quadruple the cost and see if the sanitary district has enough bonding authority to do it. I think they do. It's just you're going to have to do it. We can still keep the ditches. The ditches are pretty flat, but the concrete box culvert will enhance the ditch and let water flow through there until a big flood comes and it goes through the ditch. That's what you do.
One of the
And wait a
things.
minute, now we can play with Trump's art of the deal because we can tell Long Beach, look, if you don't get your act together and get this done, we're going to spend our money to do this.
Wait, we're going to the west side.
Yeah.
One of the things that when I was healthier and I was able to walk around and I looked at the southeast corner of the Strebel Pond area, and adjacent to that was the old Monon Railroad
Yep.
railroad base. The base of the old Monon tracks some of it is still there, and it is backing up water.
Most of
There is a waterfall that people don't see. If you go back there, bird watchers go back there, you can see a waterfall coming from under Highway 20 up to the Monon base, and then you see the ripples of the water then going down. It's an additional impediment that prevents this water from flowing down. Simply, again, I'm looking at the most economical way. Clean out the ditches, clean out the old Monon railroad track, clean out the culverts. At least we can do it on a temporary basis to start the ball rolling. By the pictures that I provided to the sanitary district are over 2.5 years old, and there has been no improvements over the last 2.5 years.
But if you start to make little temporary things, be careful, because the sanitary district needs to come through and put that storm sewer, and they're going to want to put in sanitary sewers and water at the same time, because you don't want to dig it up again.
For the last,
Bob,
for the last 45 years, something could have been accomplished, and nothing has been accomplished.
I agree.
So I hate to do it because I really like the prospect of taking the prison and making it a really nice area, but art of the deal, maybe you go down there and try to sell Eli Lilly for the whole plot and a big factory, and they have water.
Yeah.
Because I understand, and the lore has been that we had a choice between an educational institution or the prison, and we got the prison.
No, we took the prison. The choice was the prison or what is today Indiana State University in Terre Haute. Now, a lot of people think it was Ball State. It wasn't. It was Indiana State.
Indiana State. All right. There you go. We got 2 minutes. We got
guys.
We got our homework to do, and economic development's got their homework.
Yeah. Well, we can start to look at financial situations and talk about some that are up. Maybe we can give them some ideas to go to work, and he can at least start on something.
Well, if you've got a community that is not involved in the activity of the state that they reside in, that generates some questions. Why? Why? Based on the statistics that Bob brought up from 2014 to 2022 and the cooperation of the Redevelopment Commission and with Gateway that didn't exist, what does that say for this community? What does it say? Who's in charge? Who's in charge? Tony, wrap up quickly.
We're good.
We're good. Bob?
Michigan City's a great place to live. Go out and take advantage of it. Spring weather is coming, or it's here. The restaurants are fantastic, especially if you compare the prices to downtown Chicago and some other places. I guarantee we got people coming over here from Chicago that will stay one night in their condo just to be able to go out and eat in Michigan City, or 2 nights to go see a Notre Dame game, football or basketball, and then the next night go out to eat in Michigan City.
And I want to put a kudos in for the LaPorte County Tourism Bureau, because I watched one of their rebroadcasts, and they appear to me...
They are doing a fantastic
They are
job.
definitely organized. They had set goals. They've got an 8-pillar program or a 10-pillar program to make something happen under their purview, under their umbrella, as far as economic development is concerned. And so I got to give them kudos. I want to thank everybody for watching. Your input as to improvements or criticism of this program is greatly appreciated. Please contact the show's co-producers Bob Pollock, Dave Bila, or Tony Hendricks with your comments. You can email Bob at skrpollock@gmail.com, Dave at djbila1@hotmail.com, or Tony at emailagem@yahoo.com. Or you may direct your ideas for any future shows to our one and only pain in the neck staff writer, Sarah Bellum. The showing of our program will be Saturday morning at 10 a.m., followed by Monday and Thursday evening at 7 p.m. and numerous times on Channel 99. You can also use the term navigate news and views and see us on the internet. Gentlemen, did you hear about the psychic who got hit by a car and said she didn't see it coming? I want to thank everybody for watching, and make it a good day.